Here are some other great videos from Cabin Fever Entertainment.
It's the most popular movie series of all time.
The British showing town. I mean the British showing the whole world. Happy birthday, Mr. Hood.
Cabin Fever Entertainment is proud to present The Little Rascals on home video.
To you. Give me the high side.
These are the original Little Rascals. Now they're better than ever. For years, the Little Rascals have been censored. Some of their movies haven't been seen for decades. And previous video collections contained low-contrast, scratched prints, ruined from years of neglect. Not Cabin Fever. These are all the original classics, uncut. Remastered from the Library of Congress's original 35mm prints and restored to mint condition through a process costing nearly $500,000.
All right, where are you guys? There's nobody down here except that family.
It's all your favorite moments.
Say, let's start a club right now. The Heathen Woman. Don't call me Norman. Call me Chubsy Ubsy. Ah, Krabby.
And all your favorite rascals, even ones you haven't seen for years. Each volume is introduced by Entertainment Tonight's Leonard Maltin, co-author of the book The Little Rascals, The Life and Times of Our Gang.
My Juliet, my Romeo.
The original Little Rascals, only from Cabin Fever Entertainment.
From 1922 to 1944, the Little Rascals comedies, originally known as Our Gang, were filled with some of the most talented and likable kids ever to set foot on screen. But they were surrounded by some of the most experienced comedy hands in Hollywood. For 17 years, the series was made at the Hal Roach Studio in Culver City, California, a movie studio devoted almost exclusively to the creation of comedies. Some people even refer to it as the Fun Factory. It's where Harold Lloyd got his start. It's where Laurel met Hardy and made comedy history. Part of the fun in watching the Little Rascals is seeing how they fit into that great slapstick comedy tradition. It's evident in When the Wind Blows from the presence of that great comedian Edgar Kennedy in his familiar role of Kennedy the Cop. Edgar had started out in the earliest days of movie comedy as a Keystone Cop for producer Max Sennett. He dabbled in directing in the 1920s, but returned to performing with the coming of sound, and lent his comic expertise and his trademark way of showing frustration, known as the slow burn, to a number of Rascals shorts. Having said that, it's doubly impressive to watch our second short, The Pooch, in which pathos and even melodrama overtake comedy, at least for a while. It's a measure of how much we like the kids on screen, like wonderful Stymie, who's featured in this story, and how much we believe in their adventures that we go along for the ride and experience a range of emotions, with, of course, a very happy ending. Mush and Milk features another veteran character actor, Gus Leonard, who started with producer Hal Roach back in the teens. It also gives Tommy Bond one of his most memorable sequences in the series, singing a serious torch song, several years before he returned to the Rascals as Butch. And as Butch, he dominates the story of Framing Youth, our final comedy in this selection. Here's an interesting sidelight to Rascals history. When the Wind Blows was made during the first year of talking picture production at the Hal Roach Studio. Back then, Hollywood was worried about losing its audience outside the United States, which had always enjoyed silent movies. All it took was translating those card titles to make them universally understandable. Besides, most silent films depended heavily on pantomime, the universal language. Then someone had an apparent solution. Why not film Laurel and Hardy, the Little Rascals, and other stars' movies several times? Once in English, once in Spanish, once in French, and so on. The supporting cast was changed, but the stars learned their lines phonetically, or read them off of blackboards just outside of camera range. The practice didn't last long, but while it did, these remarkable kids performed even more remarkably in a variety of foreign languages. This video selection you're about to see, however, is entirely in English. To find out more about the amazing history of the Little Rascals and the remarkable kids who starred in this series, turn to The Little Rascals, The Life and Times of Our Gang by Leonard Maltin and Richard W. Bann. Its pages are crammed with facts, photos, and behind-the-scenes information on all 221 Our Gang comedies, with biographies of every Little Rascal and the story of what happened to them in later life. Ask for The Little Rascals, The Life and Times of Our Gang at your local bookstore, or have them order it for you. It's published by Crown.